Welcome to Season 2 of Why Your Business is Invisible Online. This season, we focus on the dramatic change artificial intelligence is having on your online visibility. Joining me are my two co-hosts, and here they are.
Hi, this is Jim Filatico. I'm currently obsessed with planning my next beach adventure for my whole family.
Hi, I'm Kelly Biggs. We're talking about AI this season. I'm wondering, can I get an AI agent to clean my house?
And I'm your host, John Maniatis, still glued to my guitar, but with my new band planning our next tour. Well, welcome everybody. This is going to be an exciting episode. We have Seamus Smith here with us today. We're privileged to have him here. Seamus is lead strategist at WSI for AI. And so that helps, he helps people make sense out of AI without all of the jargon. Seamus has been guiding businesses and consultants through the fast-moving world of AI since long before it was mainstream. With over a decade of hands-on experience, from enterprise giants like Shell Oil to agile startups, Seamus blends his technical experience and expertise with his strategic business insights. And we have the pleasure of having him here today and really picking his brain on what's going on with AI and how we're evolving from what is traditional, I guess, as SEO to what the new world holds for us. What I love about Seamus, because I've seen Seamus in action in a number of different ways, is how passionate he is about taking a lot of the complexity that AI brings to us and making it really clear, very practical, and giving us the types of strategies and tools that can help people work smarter and grow. So with that, Seamus, I'm just going to jump into the questions because we have lots of questions to cover today. Our audience, and I'm sure Kelly and Jim have talked to you a little bit about that. It was in some of the prep, but our audience tends to be made up of business owners of all types, small, medium, and large business owners, CEOs, CMOs, and for years they've been focused on showing up on Google search and Bing and even social. But now generative AI is rewriting all the rules. And we talk about evolving the rules, not necessarily a revolution.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. But from your vantage point, what do you feel they need to know about this shift at the sort of the high level? Because we're gonna dive into some of the details later. But at the highest level, how does it affect how their business gets found online? Because that's what our show is all about, getting found online.
I think at a fundamental level, it revolves around what you're saying and how you say it. So AI search can digest it more readily, because whereas before it was a blue link, that was largely that, and a little bit of metadata was the extent that we communicated. Now AI has to interpret everything you put down and reformulate that into something that's cohesive. But most importantly, it wants to provide an answer, as where aptly called before, it was search. You did the searching, you did the reasoning, you did the understanding. Now it does the search, the reasoning, and helps it communicate into something that should be highly relevant and therefore drive your understanding. So it's doing a lot of extra work for you. So your content, if formatted correctly, can help in that process. So you see, you have to be more thoughtful in how you put your content together. Is that it's not to say that you weren't thoughtful before, but now there's some extra stages that it's going through. And to make it even more complicated, it was whereas you might go for one blue link, it might be taking multiple chunks from multiple blue links and blending that into a paragraph. So you might be just part of the answer rather than the answer.
Interesting.
You're kind of blending into what we talked about during the prep, and we want to get your take on this. So when we were talking, you mentioned this term information gain, and And so it was really interesting. So can you do us a favor and break that down for our audience? How you define it and why does it matter for them? What's in it for them and what do they need to know when they're trying to show up for AI search terms? And obviously it's about content since you already kind of spilled the beans there.
That helps.
This really kind of goes deeper. So give us your input on that.
It is about information gain. So let's talk about generative AI. It kind of predicts the next word. Okay. So if your next word is the same as everybody else's next word, you are not differentiated. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And the art of marketing is to stand out for the right reasons.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So if you've got unique information, a unique piece of research, a unique statistic, is that you stand out. And if you stand out and you're deemed to be credible by the AI, it's going to feature you, or at least part of you, rather than not. You cannot, that's the trouble with cheap AI generated content, is that, it offers nothing extra. Here's a teachable point of view. You are a subject matter expert in the content that you like. Right. When you read generic content, how does it make you feel?
Yeah, you're bored to tears.
Yeah. For sure.
Basically, for me, it's a meal without satisfaction.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. There's
analogy.
no you're not going to rub your tummy afterwards and lick your lips. That you're going to say this was worthless calories.
You're turning the page quickly,
or bouncing out in traditional terms. Yeah, you would just bounce. So AI makes, because it's doing the reasoning, it's making a determination: is this valuable, right? And that's why domain authority or page authority really still matters, because that's part of the value judgment that the AI is asserting. So a lot of people have researched it and found that the top ranking SEO pieces of content are still showing up in AI search because they've got credibility, they've got domain authority. And so they're going to percolate to the top. That's why traditional SEO about building domain authority is just as important today as it was yesterday.
So if I'm hearing you correctly then, Seamus, does AI look at us more holistically than ever before, as opposed to a page by page little tactical assignment, or it looks at us like as a brand in and of itself and looks at our domain authority?
They are looking at domain authority. They're looking, and plus they also look, and there's another thing that we didn't talk about in prep was about content syndication, is that OpenAI and various ones have done content deals. So previously you couldn't get the FT or the Economist or that sort of stuff in percolating through, but now they've got content deals, is that these can permeate there. So if you're a brand, I'd be looking at who's got content syndication deals and be really trying to push my content into those, because that's kind of a backdoor into the AI search index.
In the past, it's always been a tactical assignment where people, even not in the past, even today, people will go onto AI for a specific tactic, ask it to do the work, and it disappears. But if I'm hearing you correctly, you're saying domain authority is important. And so
it really, really is important. Everything I have seen, if you've got something unique, that's super important, because, the ultimate thing that I know about AI search is relevance, okay? It's looking for answers, right? So when you write that prompt, which is largely like a long search query, is that it's looking to score against those, to return something that serves, what you're asking for. So relevance is the key. So relevance, and I'm going to say recency, is also very, very important. So keeping content fresh and up to date is going to be part of how AI is interpreting, is this relevant? That, and Google does the same, arguably, but now we used to optimize for a page, you know, and now we're kind of optimizing for an answer.
Huh.
So
That's a great point. That's actually a really great point. It's interesting while we're on the subject of content, right? It was Bill Gates a long time ago said content is king. And I still believe that to be true. But then I always go a step further and say, if content is king, then context is emperor or empress. But now I actually think, and you alluded to this before, so I want to get your thoughts, because now I think that brand might then be the whole kingdom, right? So if you think about in today's AI-driven search world, why do you feel like brand voice and identity matter even more? I tell that to my clients. In fact, I just had a client who I had to push back on because we were building his website, and the website is very commoditized, right? And so within him being a commodity, he was just like, Kelly, I need it up. I have a date. The site has to be up by this time. And it was a short timeline. And I was like, I understand that. I do. However, I think your story is important, and the way you say your story is really important. And here are examples of other people in your industry doing it really well. And they're like outperforming the others by 5, 6, 7x. And I want you to be them. And finally, we agreed to disagree. Overnight, he sent me an email saying, you're right. Brand is important. And a matter of fact, I gave him his wireframe. I haven't even shared this with Jim, you, and John. But when I showed him the wireframe after going through a branding exercise, he literally, and this is an older gentleman. Well, I won't say probably in all our age ranges, but he was like, I'm in tears. Like you get, like you're this is who we are. This is who we are. And I feel like now when people go to his site, once it's launched, they'll feel him. They'll feel that energy. Yeah. So I think that's going to be different than every other person in his industry, and it will matter.
Yeah, I think it does matter. It matters less to AI, but it's just like we don't write for machines. We write for humans. It's like if his business is in conversion, if his business is in retention, that is the sort of thing that when you have a brand voice is that you have a relationship, right? You don't sound like you're talking to a lawyer or a machine. So for me, it's not just about optimizing for AI. It's about optimizing for your customer, your prospect, whatever that is. And I think that's where it shines through, is that I'm not. But then it comes important is that, and this is a very, very important distinction that I'm going to say, is that when we do AI search, we search with an end product in mind, right? So give me a comparison table. It's where before we would search there and then put to there. We actually do a work product at the same time. If you can put your brand voice in there, you can make maybe you stand out on that table, right? You become differentiated if it doesn't neutralize it in its comparison. But say, for instance, it really depends what people are asking for. Is that, I want to find a sneaker brand I can trust. I want to find a sneaker brand that doesn't exploit child labor, So they might bring in sort of statements and stuff like that into the table. But here's the thing, is that this is why search is not being done like the page, the website, the domain. It's that answer. But often it's a comparison. So if you are not providing AI with all the information it needs on your website to formulate a decent comparison with your competitor, you are selling yourself short.
It'll find somebody to compare to.
Yeah.
And if you've got more information and you're more comprehensive, this is a content challenge, is that you've almost got to you've always had to, design your communication in a way that was rich in data, but not so overburdensome that people wouldn't read it. So you've got to find creative ways of doing it. That's like AI summaries, FAQs, if you've got a video on there, try and put the transcript in as well, really data enrichment, really. But think about when I talk to clients and colleagues, is that you've got to think about the AI search ends in a work product. It ends in a service. It ends in an action. Right? It doesn't end in a blue link. It ends in a table. It ends in like a diagram or something, an infographic, So you've got to think like, okay, how is my content going to give the best output to that end action?
The cool thing is also, I don't know if you've done, I'm sure you've done this before. A lot of times I'll search for something when I'm doing it for my clients specifically or my own business, I'll look in it and I'll say whatever the question is that I would hope that they would show up for, whatever it is. And when they don't, beyond being disappointed, I'll just ask it and I'll say, hey, I noticed that you gave me these three, like, why wouldn't you include mine? And sometimes it'll be like, oh, I forgot. And you're like, this is not helpful. No, there's a reason. Like, come on, be honest. Tell me. And I know you have you did something for us over the holidays, which I thought was really cool about using emotion to the AI, like for SEO, where you were like
emotional prompting.
Yeah, talk a little bit about emotional prompting for us.
Okay. So it is believed that large language models respond well to emotional prompting. So, give me an exhausted summary of X, Y, and Z. This is really important to me. This is for my annual report. This is for my child's birthday or something like that, and I'll be in a lot of trouble if I get this wrong. So double check the facts, that sort of stuff. So that's kind of your emotional prompting technique. And, the models are getting a bit better now, a lot better. So I don't know relative, but earlier on that was an effective strategy for getting a little bit more out of the models. So
aren't you guys nice to your I'm nice to ChatGPT all the time. Okay. Maybe sometimes
it depends on how many times.
Depends on the output.
Yes.
And then this is the thing, is that I know this is doing the circuit again, is around being nice to your AI model. It's that sometimes I am, sometimes I have to be a little bit of a firm parent, is that, but most of the time is that what happens when it goes wrong is that, and this is very important from a search point of view, is that it can't find something that's not there. Okay. And when it's nearly not there, let's call it an edge case, that's when it's more likely to hallucinate. Okay? Right? That's when it starts getting a bit creative. Because bearing in mind, it desperately wants to give you an answer.
Right.
It has one job, give you an answer.
It has one job, exactly. Yeah.
So within that, is it many years ago we used to sort of say it should have been an answer engine. And that was over 20 years ago, back in the day. And so, but now it truly is an answer engine. And some people are calling it, AI answers, and everybody's trying to get their little geo or SEO. But for me, WSI had really nailed it many, many years ago when they coined the phrase adaptive SEO.
Yes.
And that's really what everybody's got to do, is be flexible and know that things will change. It's almost like it's as up to date as it's ever been, that phrase, right? You've got to be adaptive, you've got to be flexible, you've got to say, just like you don't write content, put it on there and forget about it. you've got to refresh it. You've got to go back there, check the information still up to date, and keep up that recency score, with the latest research or whatever that's relevant.
So I'm going to pick up on that point because I'm trying to put myself in the shoes of a lot of these CEOs and business leaders who are now in the middle of making all these decisions. And we've said it earlier, the traditional SEO playbook really doesn't apply as much as it used to anymore. It's definitely evolving. Is it fair to say that the keyword approach to SEO is dead, or should we still be doing that? Like what I'm hearing you say earlier was, even on my website now, I should probably be putting charts in there that have comparisons in them. Something I would see more often with pricing tables. So this, this person has a price, or feature tables that would show my competitors right on my website, and it's right there in front of you for AI to just pick off and put in their answers. And FAQs have been talked about, obviously, but in general, is the keyword approach dead, or would you say, or how should it evolve going?
All right, I'll reverse engineer this.
Okay.
Keywords matter because they were kind of a simplification of what that content was about. Is that fair?
That's fair. That is fair.
If I put life insurance there, as my keyword, or, best life insurance as my little cluster of keywords, is that you would expect it to have a comparison of the best life insurance. Fair?
Yeah,
right.
That's fair. Yeah.
Right. So AI takes that a little bit further because, it can interpret the meaning of, more of the text and say, does this answer that query, that prompt, more or less than another piece of content? So, so it's kind of like, forget about keywords mean something, but all the words around it mean more. Okay. So, so I would argue keywords are important if they reflect the meaning of the content and they reflect the intent of the search. That, if I want to compare things, that's the, am I ready to buy? Is it an event that's coming up? To think about, it's almost like, there's a thing called foveal vision, are you familiar with it? Where you tunnel vision, so you don't see the periphery.
Right.
And that's like what keywords research, a keyword is like foveal vision. It's just targeted on, optimized for this keyword, stuff it, find different semantic reasons of it and that sort of stuff. Is where, AI in search has a more peripheral sort of approach to it. It can see around that word, and so it's looking at it more contextually.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're still going to use it.
It doesn't mean that it's important.
Yeah.
It just means that everything around it is as even more important.
Yeah. So let's kind of put that in play, because I know for me, a lot of my clients still, we have a good book of business around showing up for the blue links. We do, right? And so when I think about, a lot of companies are still focused on like Google searches. However, the smarter companies, I think, are starting to think about, well, then what does it mean to show up in some of the generative search like ChatGPT? And I'll actually give you a story. So WSI started, it was right after the launch of ChatGPT. Jim and I don't know, Seamus, were you with WSI then when we went to Cancun? Had you joined?
Yeah, I was.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I was. I wasn't at the event, but
okay. And so, so they started talking about AI, and a lot of times we meet every Friday, and we kind of go back and we told John, like, AI is going to change the world. Like, we have to change our entire business model. And you really felt it. It was like a huge shift. It was almost like when I started to sell the websites back in the day and didn't know what I was selling. I was like, people think we're going to be giving our credit cards to the computer. This is
This is crazy.
it's crazy. It's
Who
not
does
going to
that?
happen. But people are buying it, so I'll sell it. So fast forward to now. At that time, I thought it was important for me to talk to my clients and say, I don't, to your point of adaptive, I don't know what this is, but I think it's important that we set aside some time for me to understand how you're going to show up for it. And if you'll do that, it's going to cost you a little bit more money, but if I could get enough of my clients to do it, and I can move the ball forward to all of them. And all of them said yes, which I was really, really, really pleased with. And I was really happy one day when one of them called and said, hey, I got my first client that found me through ChatGPT. And so I had the conversation with him and I was like, tell me what happened. And the accounting firm I was like, what did they search for? And we had done a lot of work around this whole concept of what you're calling like context and longer tail keywords. When we first started with him, he was like, just saying best accountant. I'm getting a lot of like H&R Block type of clients. That's not my ideal. I would like to move and talk to estate planning type clients. And so we started writing content for estate planning. I was like, tell me some questions, give me some answers. Like, what does that look like? What do they want to know? And sure enough, we did some of the things that work for SEO. So we put questions and answers out on their Google business profile. We put them on the page, and that's exactly what happened. They did a long tail search. They had the answer to the question. The client read the answer on GPT, but was like, wow, this is thorough. I want to learn more. Click the link, ended up on the page, and just felt like this company must be knowledgeable, and I'm going to give them a call, and they won the client. All that to say, is that what you're seeing that people will need to do to show up for these, or is there some other secret sauce where we need to write words in white on the paper? Like
not that trick again. But every location in America. No. Look, it's answer the question. I'm kind of saving it, but I'm going to say it now, is that this starts with strategy. Okay. Is like, so what is my product strategy? What is my communication strategy? What's my differentiation? Why does somebody choose my product over another product? Why does somebody choose my service over another one? Okay. So ideal customer persona, brand values, all these types of things, all these types of research, which often doesn't happen with a traditional agency, traditional optimization. It's all about the keyword. It's that, how high can I get that, and this is what matters, because this will inform not what, but how and why somebody will want that content. And so it starts with strategy. It starts with knowing your customer. And I was fortunate enough to work in sort of qualitative research a number of years ago as well. And, one of the concepts that I learned there was about your non-customer. And I think it's a fascinating way, is that we're constantly looking at, so which customers don't you want? Which customers are not choosing you? Is that something you want to happen or not happen? And going through that framework of real discovery and really looking for points that will differentiate. You said it there, estate planning, it's like, okay, so that's important. If somebody says, I'm looking for a tax advisor to help me with my estate planning, then you just hit the mother load, haven't you? I live in X, Y, and Z, and I've had a bad experience with blah, so this is the richness, and it's just getting richer, because now that advanced voice mode, particularly in ChatGPT and Google, is so good, is that whole conversations will be emerging, right? And it's going to be talking back and clarifying. It's going to, through the memory function in ChatGPT and Google and in Copilot, it's going to know some of your preferences, right? And this is going to be much more conversational, which ties straight into voice search, right? Voice search is about to go through the biggest seismic change in the history of voice search, because these advanced voice modes are coming to your Alexa, are already at Alexa. Not so good yet, but it will get better. Google Assistant, same thing. And no doubt Siri will eventually get a brain in order to do this via ChatGPT to do it. So it is, but Apple, they're never the first mover, but they're always a very solid performer when they deliver. So I don't mind the wait as long as it delivers. But these form of conversational, the FAQs, answering the questions, and this is where user-generated content is so powerful, because as I didn't say, my earliest beginnings in SEO is that I used to coin the phrase "the language of your audience." And this is kind of what you get in UGC, just when people are writing prompts, is that I think we have this idea that they're writing in Queen's English. They're going, "Hey, mate, where's the local pub? Is it down the road or is it up the road?" That's my worst Cockney accent. So
that's pretty good.
So in essence, is that we have this view that it's this perfect thing. Of course, the large language model will interpret it, but if it can match that sort of language online, I strongly believe that it will prefer that content over the perfect English that we think everybody talks in. So UGC, user-generated content. Very, very powerful for traditional search, and I would argue that AI trusts people more than it trusts marketers.
What I find amazing is that when people type into a Google search, and it's changing, obviously, based, I think, more because of AI, but it's usually these truncated little non-sentences, yet when you go to AI, you write not a paragraph, but many times a paragraph, and it doesn't bother the person to do that. They have no problem. It's like they already know they're conversing, as opposed to expecting a search, or and so what you're just saying, fits right in that the next logical step is just speaking into whatever. Maybe it's whatever it is, your earbud or your glasses or whatever it is you're going to speak into, or the little chip in your brain. But it's conversational.
More real than it ever was.
Yeah.
It is called conversational AI.
Right. And so you're talking to a friend or you're a colleague or whatever. And so but then it's so much richer with context.
Yeah.
That it allows you to get that answer faster.
Right.
Without as many clicks, so to speak.
Yeah, so, and also maybe your end product as well, because if you're researching a product, a service, B2B, B2C, you're going to at least have 3 that you're interested in, or there's a specific one that you're interested in, and you'll go down that route. But it's just getting more and more powerful and more pervasive. Is that I'll give you a use case here, is that we're not really seeing it yet, but it's coming. It's AI in your car. Right? Is that you might be doing it via your phone, but AI, ChatGPT and Google, they've been doing deals with car manufacturers around the world, and they'll be using, at the moment, they're doing it to make. Have you ever, when you receive your car and it's got this lovely manual, or maybe not your car, Kelly, but traditionally is that you would get this, sort of manual that you would stick in your glove box and never be able to decipher. So is that now you can just talk to, the console, and it will give you an answer, where the fuse is, what fuse do you need? Do you want me to get one delivered for you now? Do you need roadside? We kind of see it a bit, through, the various like General Motors sort of OnStar or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
But this is going to go way further, way further.
The interesting thing, I remember being in a class the other day, and I don't know how true, I didn't research it, but it blew my mind. But they were saying that like the different maps, some of these map services that we use, the reason you might like some over others is that they sold some of the routes to different places. So for instance, if you're Starbucks and you could say they were approached by some of them and said, hey, we'd like to put you on our map. And then they noticed that they paid a certain amount. And instead of taking this right, it tells you to go down the street, and they picked up volume. Right? And they picked up volume that way. Like I said,
I'm telling you, it's happening for sure. I was visiting my mom this weekend. I visit mom every weekend. She's approaching 90. And she's always upset that all the cars coming across the street. So this is the street I grew up on. She's right. Like I've been watching the pattern. The amount of cars that go up our street. We grew up on a quiet street. Not anymore.
Yeah.
So to Kelly's point, the only thing I can think of is the tools that are available to people now, AI tools, in terms of making their routes as efficient as possible and optimizing them, are causing traffic to go up our street.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. I mean, I can categorically, I can tell you is that GPS or driving directions type thing is doing it, because they sample the nodes. Is that we're all nodes, our phones, whether you Waze or something like that, and they'll know that you're going from A to B. And they're just doing a differential. One takes 5 minutes, the other takes 20. Which one? People often in their directions, in their settings, they say they want the fastest route. It's doing what you've asked it.
It's doing what you asked it to do. Yeah.
Right. Well, it's funny because it just reminds me of, sorry, John.
No problem.
That Office episode, and then you start to not, like, you trust the GPS over yourself. Remember, they ended up in that...
Drive into a lake?
In the lake.
Yeah. Well, back then in my Shell days is that I said GPS will save marriages. So,
it definitely saved ours.
So that's funny. I remember writing that.
That's hilarious.
I believe it.
We used to play hockey on that street, Canada being a crazy hockey nation. And we would play maybe for like 15, 20-minute intervals, and then we would finally yell car, and then we'd have to take a break and then play again. And so, that's impossible now for these kids on that street. Sorry I interrupted. Yeah, you're about to say something, Seamus.
We used to think of the car as being the dark side of the moon for marketing. The only way of getting in there was via radio. That's no longer, or it will no longer be the case.
That's right.
That Google Maps and navigation, as you said, get Starbucks into your car. This is going to become, and with autonomous and semi-autonomous driving, even more so, because then other content can permeate that dark side of the moon that we used to view it as.
That's right.
It's that's where I know we talked about local SEO, but I do believe is that maps is a major part of local SEO. It wasn't that far back. Is that your local newspaper used to own local SEO, or the Yellow Pages owned local SEO. Yeah. So these things are evolving, but AI. What it's going to give you is the context is that if it knows you're going between A and B and you're visiting your mother and you do it every week, right? Kind of knows your patterns as well. It might know some of your preferences, like you drop by for a sneaky little Starbucks with something, and so it will. Yeah, this is where it is becoming more of. I'll use
pervasive.
It might break up marriages too. No, it's funny because mine definitely thinks that. So we have a vending machine business. And so there's one that's closer to our house, and we go there probably more often than we do others. But whenever I'm in my car, it thinks my home is either that senior living facility or my house, because as soon as I get in it, they're like, oh, it's 15 minutes to get to to get to the spot. But as you talked a little bit about local SEO, and you talked about domain authority.
Yeah.
When I look at search now for Google, even a lot of my clients complain because they're like, yeah, I'm on the first page of Google, but that's well below the fold, right? I have to scroll down so much till I get to that coveted blue link. But what I'm finding is that the map pack hasn't really fallen. And so do you think, while domain authority is important, do you think the small business still has some hope with that local SEO search?
I love local SEO. It's a great way to drive qualified business to your business. It's ready to buy. It's like, they are so far down the funnel, they're virtually on your doorstep. So that's, for me, it's about where are they in that buying journey. Local SEO, when there's somebody searching for something locally, there's very high intent.
Right.
And so for me, yes, businesses don't do enough in it, in my opinion. They don't keep the local business profile up to date. They don't drive, they don't add UGC, or encourage user comments on there. UGC, I keep calling it, but it is a bit of jargon there, sorry. But the thing that I feel that people really don't do is that they do successful jobs. Say you're a plumber, you're an electrician, or your contractor, let's just say classically, or a roofer, is they are not posting content to demonstrate to Google that you are actively serving a particular area. Hello, this is like gold. Is that somebody comes up, looking for a roofer, and they're in that area, and you've got 5 images serving that area successfully. I know who Google's going to think is a good, safe bet to offer up, and it will be your business.
Hey, John, talk to us about, I know this is a funny topic from last week, like what happened with your pictures of your HVAC company and how you used AI to fix it. Jim, both of y'all had kind of the similar problem, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, the leaves.
The leaf. Oh, yeah. Now you reminded me. Yeah, thank you. So I was posting a blog for my HVAC client, and it was for springtime. Unfortunately, I don't know what I was thinking that day, but I found this beautiful picture at the side of a house of an air conditioner, and it was a nice setting, and the sun was shining and whatnot. Unfortunately, I also included a bunch of dry leaves in the picture. Didn't think about it at the time that was actually autumn or fall, and not springtime. And I posted it, and then I showed Kelly and Jim, and they were laughing, and then said, you know what? We can fix that with AI. And so Kelly literally found a way to scrub the leaves out of the picture. So now I just had the plain old beautiful air conditioner in the garden. and then I took it away, and on my own time, I just basically added a little tulip garden, some crocuses, definitely made it perfect for spring. And
He posted.
I substituted the photo, and it's perfect now. But these mistakes happen when you're half asleep, and thankfully AI comes to the rescue.
What you're talking about is making it seasonally relevant.
Yes, that's exactly right.
And we're humans. Is that we see an image there and it makes sense. It's like up to date. It's you go into the garden center. It makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And, so being relevant and being differentiated matters in images as well. And I'm glad you brought up to take a segue in here into like Google Lens.
Yes, please.
Pinterest
Yeah,
Lens.
please.
right.
Yeah. I want to go tactical a little bit. Yeah. So thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So these sorts of things matter. They matter a lot because, say, for instance, you like this shirt, right? It's a blue shirt, but what if it had a unique stitch on the collar or a unique pattern on the back? Have you ever been walking? You guys don't tend to do this, but Kelly, I bet you, is that if you see an outfit on another lady, you'll go up and say, "Where did you get that?" Yeah, guys don't do that generally, right? But ladies do. That's why ladies are 10 times more effective than men, is that we try and work it out because we're too arrogant. Women go, "Why are you waiting? Just ask."
Just ask, yeah.
It's so more pragmatic. But what you could do is that you can just snap it with your camera and Google Lens. If it's got something unique on it, Google Lens will try and match this up. Why is that important? 20 billion Google Lens searches per month.
Wow.
Okay, that's why it's important. People are using it, right?
Yeah.
And they're doing it for more than just finding the outfits are important. They're doing it to price antiques, to find out if something's an antique. You go to a bric-a-brac store and there's something there you don't know. You snap it with Google Lens, you'll work out how much it's worth.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
So you're looking for a tire, you're looking for a wheel hub, you're looking for anything. So image optimization for Google or for search is important. So if you've got a product company, they need to be doing really good images of their products. And I'm almost looking at like image optimization. Can I, just like a keyword almost, is that can I find a unique signature within a brand or a product? If I'm a brand or a product design company, I'm looking to embed unique
absolutely
into my product so I can be found. So it cuts both ways. It's a phenomenal gift. The e-commerce companies have worked this out, right? The antique dealers have worked it out. What about everybody else? Work it out. Look at your product.
Sorry about that.
No, just look at your products. Look at what you're offering. Say, for instance, somebody could be snapping a particular HVAC machine, right? If the manufacturer hasn't optimized for Google Lens and you're a HVAC engineer and you've optimized for these particular ones that you install, and you optimize them for Google Lens, and somebody starts searching it, they could not only be finding the piece of engineering, they could be finding the contractor to fix it or to install it. That you're getting in front of customers.
Exactly.
It's interesting that you said antiques, and because I remember I was visiting Tennessee one day, and on the front of the sign it said, "We buy garbage, we sell antiques."
That's very true.
Exactly. I think, John, did you have a...
No, I just wanted to add, because you reminded me of when we were talking about clothing. One of my clients is in the luxury men's clothing business, and he intentionally adds a red button on his shirt to differentiate himself visually.
But has he optimized for Google Lens?
No. So there's the opportunity.
There you go.
Exactly.
But it's not only that.
Yeah.
But did you know is that, ChatGPT, Google Gemini, you can do image searching.
There you go. Yeah, absolutely.
So same sort of thing, describe it, find it, whatever. But there's Amazon does it. Pinterest does it.
It makes sense.
Google does it. ChatGPT does it. Gemini does it. A lot of them have worked this out, but Google's the king of image search.
Yeah. So Jim, both of us have HVAC companies. So if they're wearing their uniform and it has a logo on it that it's clearly theirs. There's a lot of opportunity. We can optimize visually.
I frequently snap vans and trucks, you know, because I don't write anything down. I snap it and I Google search it on the image.
I have a branding company that said like wrapping your vehicle or even just putting a magnet on it would get you so much business. Because same thing. People just want to take a quick picture like, oh yeah, you just drive and it's better than a billboard, right? Like you just
QR code.
Yeah.
QR codes, absolutely. Yeah. And make it legible from you driving behind that.
Right.
No?
Right. Not on a billboard. That's what,
and make sure that your vans are clean. These all matter because it is a billboard. It is a reflection.
Yeah, it's your brand. Yeah.
And and it's tax dedeductible.
Yeah.
There you go.
And drive the speed limit. Otherwise, you get a bad review.
Yeah. It's your brand on wheels. Absolutely. That's for sure.
I love the fact that we're going a little tactical. We're on this path now, so let's dive a little deeper. One of the questions I've been getting a lot lately is how does my company show up on AI? So they just generalize AI. Yeah. Some of them go a little deeper and they say, well, how do I rank on ChatGPT versus Perplexity versus Claude? And I said, okay, that's a little deeper. So I don't know how much we know of the differentiating tactics between ChatGPT and Perplexity, for example. One might want different things to put you on the top 10 list than another, and maybe all three of them have common things that they look at. And so is there any way you can help us with our clients to give them the tips on how to show up on all three?
All right. All right, I'm eager to get in there. You can tell.
Go for it, yeah.
All right. So optimizing for ChatGPT search. Optimize for Bing. That's the search provider for ChatGPT, right? So we know the difference between Google and Bing. Bing looks for a lot more social signals. So, you want to be a little bit more across the spread. You want to make sure you're on multiple social channels and that sort of stuff and getting good signals there. Google, it can optimize for itself, Well, but then it's YouTube, it's Google Images.
That's right. Yep.
This is classic stuff. What's the top search engine in the world? Google. What's the second top search engine in the world? YouTube. What's the third top search engine? Google Images. Okay, so then all the rest. So you got to optimize for those things if you want to optimize for their AI derivatives, so to speak. But Perplexity, they do their own. I think they're ex-Googlers, so I don't know. But really it's about relevance, recency, and answer questions, and really knowing your customer and their problems, their pain points, their aspirations, and writing content that connects with that, and driving domain authority. So traditional SEO, content clusters, content pillars really aren't going to become an authority. And it's a staircase. Is that the number one thing that I see wrong is that people go after what I would call the big keywords before they've earned their stripes. It's a bit like going into a gym and starting off lifting 500 pounds. You don't. You have to work your way up.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah.
And so that's why they need great strategists, people to work there and say, look, you're a new domain. You haven't got much content. Let's go for these long tail keywords that don't have that much competition.
Right.
Let's work there. I'd rather get you 5 clicks, 10 clicks than no clicks.
Exactly.
Right.
The wins.
Yeah. Vanity metrics are
and they don't lead to traffic. Right. And you want keywords that lead to money.
Well, that's it.
Most people, or it's what I would call money keywords. So, but it's like those longer tail keywords that might not be so contested, or new trending keywords. I mean, a classic sort of statistic that you need to know is that 15% of searches are brand new every day.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're not tracking what's happening on social, Reddit, or Google Trends or something like that, or breaking news and build up some authority around news stuff. It doesn't have to be always the big 800-pound gorilla. If you were fighting somebody bigger than you, you wouldn't try and hit them on the chin. You would kick them in the ankle.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, for sure. Or somewhere else.
So that's how it is with marketing. You've got to be a little bit creative. That's why you need, dare I say it, professionals, people that will come in, look at you holistically, and sort of size you up with the right strategy to get the results and to build domain authority. And that's why SEO takes longer. But once you've built that authority over time, it's like a cash machine.
Yes,
Right.
yeah. I think the three of us are pretty good at going for the lower hanging fruit when we kick off with a new client, and we don't go for the hard to reach. Yeah, exactly.
But it's a
Makes sense.
common error. You see it, when we pick up clients that haven't been well managed.
Yes.
You will see that their content is driving for these unobtainable keywords to them because they haven't built up that authority yet.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
it's interesting. I had a client last year where we'd spend a lot of time going after the longer tail keywords that were very high intent. She was really pleased about the quality of leads she was getting. Somebody had called in trying to unhook me, and they were like, "Oh, she needs to rank for." It was really high level keyword. It was massages. I've talked about this client before, but they were like, "You need to rank for massages," and I was like, "No, you don't." She's like, "No, but the volume for massages is 7,000 searches a month and I'm missing out on them." I'm like, "Right, but you're getting people who are interested in sports massages
I know.
or fibromyalgia,
Near
very
me.
specific things." Right. And
She's
so,
got a domain authority of 2.
yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
look, these are money keywords. These are high intent, if you're in massage, it's like, which massage?
Right.
I know of more than one.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. They're out there.
dirty minds. But anyway,
Incognito mode.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
There you go. So it's good advice, but it's shocking just how much poor advice is still out there.
Yeah.
So it's one of the classic things that SEOs used to do back in the day is that they would come in and they would type your domain into the search bar and say, "Look, you rank.
You rank.
Absolutely.
Number one. Number one."
Yeah, shysters. Yeah.
I still believe it happens today.
Yeah.
But there's nothing wrong with actually having a unique brand. And we work with a finance company, and he had worked with another marketing company, and they had helped him choose, a nice looking brand identity and that sort of stuff. But it was generic. So it was fairly generic. I won't mention the name, but anyway, we came up with a unique name for him, something that he was already using on LinkedIn. And overnight, he was ranking number 1 on his brand related research. It was where before he had a fairly generic sounding multiple competitors in that space. And he was nowhere. But as soon as he tweaked over what he was talking about on LinkedIn, his social thing, immediately he was getting a brand number 1, 2, and 3 search. And that's important for him. Brand search is very, very important.
Sure. Right.
Is that a lot of people use brand navigation. So, so therefore having a differentiated brand, being unique, your lawyers like you as well from a trademark point of view.
Yeah.
But, it's, but it does work and it's super cheap.
Yeah.
If you're starting out, you're a new startup, you've reached out to a consultant, is like, how can I get ranked? Is the first place to start is with domain choice.
Yeah.
And naming, and and the best time the best plant, the best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago and right now. So plant that tree now with a good brand choice, you know.
Sure.
Hey, Jim, I think you wanted to, did you want to ask some questions around, since we're still at this tactical level, because I think it's helpful. Favicons, I think were something that you guys had talked about when you were doing some of the prep.
Yeah, that was one of Seamus's aha moments. Yeah, give us your thoughts on that.
Okay, well, I think you coined it so beautifully. It's the tiniest but most powerful image on your website. So the favicon is, to explain to people that don't know what it is, it's that tiny little image that appears on the browser tab bar, you know. But another real powerful place it appears now is in AI search. Right? Mm-hmm. So if you haven't, so this might be the only thing that people will know that you have contributed to that AI answer. Okay? So when the next time, and everybody that's listening to this, every time they do an AI search now, they are going to be primed to see it. But subliminally, you are seeing it, regardless of whether I've primed you to do it or not, is that designing a powerful and impactful favicon is important. It has always been important since it went into the browser tabs, but it's even more now important for AI search because that might be the only thing that the user will see. And if you can increase the frequency of your brand shows to people, you will create a greater likelihood of them choosing you, because it's what advertisers have been doing since, I don't know, since the cavemen, I think.
Yeah, subliminal. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's cheap, it's tactical, and to get a well-designed favicon is a work of art.
Yeah, agree. Yeah, we have a great one. Kelly designed a great one for Invisible Online with.
Yeah. It was our team. It wasn't me. Yeah. I wish I'm not quite that creative, but yeah, it was our team.
That's true.
Yeah, but it was good. And so you also alluded to, you talked about it a little bit earlier. You called it UCG, which is user generated content. And I've heard you say, and I think we've said it a couple of times here, that people don't trust marketers; they trust other people. So how can they use user-generated content like reviews, like testimonials, to build the kind of trust that matters, I would say, in AI search, but also in general? And because I like telling stories, I'll tell you another interesting story that had to do with my daughter. I think we were all trying to figure out TikTok. And with TikTok, we were trying to figure out, I think, John, you asked the question, like, do people go to TikTok to search? And I was like, I don't think they do, John. And you're like, no, I think they do. And I was like, well, okay, we'll test the audience of one. I don't know if you guys talk to your millennials, but
mine hasn't been home for a few days. So.
I asked Perplexity instead.
Yeah, exactly. And so anyway, so I was like, hey, so talk me. In fact, she was telling me she bought something else off of TikTok. I was like, so walk me through that process, please. How does that work? And I was like, are you going to TikTok saying I'm interested in a product and then the product comes to you? Or are you just scrolling, looking at content, and the product comes to you? And she said it could be either for her. Mm-hmm. And so it could be, she was like, so for this particular one, it was in her scroll. And so, but what was interesting to me was the next step. So she had something that she felt like she wanted. The algorithm knows her because we didn't talk about speech too much, but the algorithm's listening to her speech searches, and all of a sudden, some acrylic, I can't make this up, some acrylic dog crates came into her feed that fit the aesthetic for her 3 dogs. Mm-hmm. And she's like, I gotta have it. And so then she's like, so the next thing I do is to go to make sure that it's a good product. because I don't recognize the brand, right? So there is a brand recognition, but she goes to search the brand. I was like, did you go to the website? Nope, I did not. I went to TikTok and I put in that description, and then I looked to see what other people had to say about it. And then if enough, and I'm looking for good and bad reviews, I'm just looking to see if this is going to be a good purchase for me or not. She never went to the website. Never did. Like she went through TikTok Shop, and that's how she went about buying it.
Yeah.
And so I thought that was interesting because I don't know that I think I would have visited at least the website if it was something I'm not familiar with. But I guess I do that in Amazon all the time. People think they're in Amazon, but you're actually in somebody's shop within Amazon, right?
In the marketplace,
Yeah. But anyway.
Yeah, I would say, look, UGC is, the voice of your audience or the voice of your prospects, the voice of your customers, just the voices out there. And, now there's a whole bunch of those that are being faked by AI. I'm sorry, but it's true.
Right.
Google and a lot of the other AI companies, they can spot their own content. If anybody can spot AI content, it'd be reasonable that an AI might be able to spot it. So they look for a number of signals. Is that do you know Danny Sullivan? Danny Sullivan, he's Google's search liaison, right? When Danny talks, everybody should listen. He's been through with Google search. I've been fortunate enough to work with him in the past, but is that he's a brilliant guy. He's now Google search liaison. There's lots more stories I can tell about him in the nicest possible way.
Future episode.
He helped discover Google. So put it that way. So he goes back a long way with Google. So when Danny was saying, are you familiar with EEAT? Yeah. So experience, expertise, authority, and trust. Okay. So, and this is Google's sort of protocol for finding good content. Now, Danny said just recently, I believe I'm quoting him correctly, he said, you don't find EEAT on your web pages. EEAT is found outside of your web page.
Yeah.
UGC is a classic example of that, right? Is that it's a signal to Google. And just as I was saying, Bing looks for signals from social, Google looks for signals about, what universities you do? Are you a university? Are you a professional? Have you got a LinkedIn profile? All these types of things, and many, many more, and stuff we know about and stuff we might not know about. But but these are signals to Google or to AI search that you are who you say you are.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so UGC, user generated content, is very, very powerful signal. And the more authentic it is, the more you can foster that through pictures and that sort of stuff, is that these are good signals that, as long as they are good signals, and that's why if you get bad signals about you, you should do something about it. Absolutely. You should reach out to people, try and put that right, at least put your side of the story on there,
You reminded me of a saying one of my clients had told me a while ago, where they said, your brand really is what people say about you when you're not in the room. And it's been that way, for centuries.
Forever.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I was thinking about our episode today and everything you've been saying, Seamus, and pervasive, I think, throughout our discussion has been this theme of the information gain. I hear the word differentiation, but being unique. I guess it's always been the case. I mean, companies always they try to be unique, but sometimes they tend to be generic in their space. But some do it better than others, and some make it a point. They're constantly reinventing themselves so that they're always unique, regardless of where their industry is evolving. And so I'm hearing that that's what really AI responds to. The companies that really do the best job of putting information out there about themselves in every platform they can, to show how unique they really are.
Yeah, yes, it's that uniqueness, but it's got to be a uniqueness that's meaningful.
Okay.
Okay.
Keep going. This is good.
This because I could be unique by having a green head, right?
Yes.
But nobody cares, right?
Mhm.
But so this is where strategy comes in. This is where doing the work is doing research and doing what competitor research as well, and really digging deep into finding something sort of that differentiates you in a good and purposeful way to drive the outcome that would be desirable for you.
Okay.
Right? I couldn't say it in more powerful and pointed words, is that you got to find the difference that makes the difference.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. Yeah. So is that if you had to pick one thing a CEO or a CMO should do now to evolve with their teams, seeing where traditional is headed and where AI is forcing it to go, is that it? Is it what you just said?
I would do the work. I would do the work. I would do a customer persona workshop. I would do my brand uniqueness sort of workshop. I would talk to my customers. I would encourage people to generate and post content. I would I would pull down all my Google reviews and I'd mine them for insights. I would pull down my competitors' Google reviews and mine those for insights. I would just pursue my understanding of what makes my customer my best customer. And then I would do the work and I would come up with a content strategy that was AI friendly today. So it uses simple language. It doesn't use complicated language. So it makes it accessible. It might start with a summary at the top to save not only my potential customers time, so they can say, oh, this page is for me. This is the sort of content I want to write. Oh, I've already got my answer. You kind of compete with AI answers by doing it yourself, right? But AI then can read that very efficiently and say, this is a piece of content that's relevant. Then I would then think about, okay, I can look at the top ranking content on Google and say, okay, it's got some infographics, it's got some useful data, it's got some unique statistics. I should have that, right? And then it would say, what hasn't it got? What, with my knowledge of my customers, is important to them? What's it missing? Can I add that? And that's information gain, right? That gives you edge, is that in statistics, it's called edge.
That's a great word. Yeah, edge, and a memorable one too. Yeah.
Yeah. So that is that you've got to look at your content and think again about it. A content audit. Think about, is this really hitting what I need for my customers? And don't think that content stays up to date without you doing something to it, right? So, and have I really done the work to move up on domain authority? Have I done the work? I can moan about not getting enough organic, but have I done the work?
Yeah, that's so fair. Yeah, that's a fair comment.
And so it's like, look at Google Console, is look at GA4, go a bit deeper and you'll find the AI search referrals. Look at SEMrush or use your agency to look at SEMrush and look at the AI results, but constantly keep it fresh. So relevance and recency are two things that you should be able to do, and build authority, obviously through domain authority and through good references. If you want to optimize for ChatGPT, you should be optimizing for Bing. If you want to optimize for Gemini, you should be optimizing for Google. And there's some others. Anthropic now is sourced by a company called Brave, so you should optimize for Brave. And these are the sorts of things that that professionals are doing day in, day out. So if your time is worth more money doing your business, get your professionals to do this for you.
Absolutely.
Is the moral of this story. And but if you don't do it, your competitor can do it. And, and it's just a harsh reality of life is that if you have a shop window, right, and you have products in there that you want to sell, but you never clean the window, it just gets harder and harder for people to see your product. Content is the same.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great note to close things off. I think those are the keys that everybody should. All business leaders right now have to do that hard work. A lot of it, to be fair, is traditional marketing strategy. That's how you do it. You've always had to do it, but a lot of people don't. And then you're right. Those windows, that's a great analogy. Those windows do get pretty foggy if you don't do that work constantly, refreshing it, because your industry evolves. So,
it's just even like imagine a shop window that don't change. It's your leaves again, isn't it? It's Yeah, what I would say, even a broken clock is right twice a day.
Yeah.
But that's if you're expecting your content to be like that, it's just not enough. And I say content. Look, there's other things. Is that there's technical SEO,
For sure.
right? Yeah. There's load speed. We haven't talked about so many other stuff, which I call technical SEO. Really important. And
it's still important in AI from what I can see. Like we've tested,
no, for sure.
tested it, and they're like, yeah, it has to be intact.
Because here's the thing. I'll tell you why it's really super important is that all these are sending out bots to scrape your
right.
That costs a lot of money, right? If you're slow to respond or your content's hard to navigate or it's full of JavaScript, all these types of things, these are barriers.
They're moving on. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a bit like it's not worth it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like a burglar. They find the house with the door open. They don't try and blow up like Fort Knox to get in a borrow gold. They say, hey, look, this guy's left his door open, and we should leave our door open for these. Look, there's other things. Is that there's you can put in AI notices. You can block bots from looking at your content, that sort of stuff. Arguably, works, doesn't work. A lot of the times it gets ignored. There's a lot of the research that's there. There's a whole sea of information around here. But I would say to your listeners is that technical SEO is like a given. But from an AI point of view, it's largely content. It's largely making that content accessible and to be relevant and recent. And in my opinion, and as simple as possible. Yeah. But the brand voice is important because you are just not optimizing for AI. You're optimizing for the emotional connection with human.
Yeah.
But one thing we didn't touch on is agent to agent search, which is coming up. So that is that. You could ask me a future question, and I'll give you an answer to that.
Yeah, let's talk about agent-to-agent search because I really don't know much about it, but you're seen as an upcoming trend that we need to be on top of. I'd love to hear more about your thoughts on agent-to-agent.
Yeah, so A to A or whatever we're going to end up calling it, is that it doesn't really matter in the sense is that we're already seeing it is that ChatGPT has got a thing called Operator. Google's got Project Mariner, I think. Anyway, I forget what they're all got different names, but they're all around navigating, or orchestration, that size type of things. But these are like, at the moment, they're kind of browser-based things where they navigate your website, but they don't need to be. We've got deep research, which are agentic in nature. It will go out, it will reason what somebody is asking for, and it will formulate a conclusion. Right. So it will look at your content and then it will summarize it, turn it into a product, a work product, a table, whatever you've asked for, an image even. So why it's important is again, it's around data. is that, and it's about trust signals, is that if a human can decipher, what's going on because of their broader knowledge of your brand and these types of things, an agent might not have that initially on board. So it will be looking for as many signals as possible. And if you haven't got data, it can't process it, right? So I think we're seeing the end of the minimalist websites, in the sense, well, because there's very little data on them. They're such a visual experience, and the AI is not looking at the images ostensibly.
Right.
So, those thin sort of like scrollable sort of, pieces, they lack the depth of content.
Okay, I see where you're going.
In my opinion, to influence the AI. So, but when we get into agent to agent, it's likely is that we will have a human experience website, and we'll have an agentic experience that's more akin to a database. So it would be like example, API sort of type thing.
So Jim and I, being consultants and strategists in this space, are you saying we might have to build the typical traditional website for certain reasons it's one way for a company to express itself, but in addition to that, we'd have to build another location that allows AI tools to go deeper on our knowledge.
This is all future based.
Oh, it's future based.
Well,
okay.
This isn't. There are no standards around this, but it's logical that there'll be some way. Is that we don't want too much data for humans; they get overloaded.
Absolutely.
But we want efficient forms of how machine to machine can listen for each other. It's a bit like a fax machine. It sends bits and bytes. And data in a different way. It's more efficient than doing it any other way. So what we're likely to see is that there'll be some efficiencies there. It will probably get out of control first, and then we'll come to it. That tends to be the way. So, but really, if you haven't got content on your website that is important for a customer or a prospect or a user to formulate a decision, you're going to be light in the ability for an agent or AI to deem you relevant.
Make that same decision.
Yeah.
You need sufficient content and the right content.
And it's the right content. Yeah. Because the old traditional SEO, they would always tell us, I need 1,500 words on this page. Your page is too light. But it's the right content that we need on those pages going forward. And when you say agent to agent, you mean AI built agents like that? Okay.
So it will be looking there, and it will be using what we call reasoning models now that are much more logical, and it will be determining. They're called agents because you give them agency to act on your behalf. Okay. So really is that they're making autonomous or semi-autonomous decisions on is that content answering
the
your
question.
intent.
Yeah. I have a friend of mine who built an entire company. If you go to her website, you see 80 agents, 80 faces there. She actually has faces on it. But there's an agent for just content. There's an agent for distribution.
They're basically genius tools.
Yeah, they're little mini genius tools, basically.
They are,
She has names for them.
She has names for them. Yeah, there's
personas.
Joe. Yeah, personas. Yeah, there's Joe, there's Tony, there's Irene.
It's
I don't know if they talk. They don't talk. Maybe they do talk to each other. I don't know.
They can talk. There was a thing called Character AI, and Microsoft kind of bought the talent, and it's very much around, and Meta's been doing a lot of stuff in this space. We're going to see more and more is that, I don't know if you're familiar on Google, there's a thing called headless videos and stuff like that. So it's just AI generated, and so they're called headless videos. So
really? Okay.
more and more so, if you look at the advancements in AI generated video, it's amazing. So it's just a matter of time, really, and efficiency and price. It's price, really. That's really driving at the moment.
That's the one question you just reminded me that I wanted to close on.
Right.
Timing. So we know how fast AI is changing, but if we're going to help leaders, CEOs, CMOs, and just leaders of even medium-sized businesses, how do they, like, what are the things they react to from a timing perspective, and how fast do they have to react to these things right now in order to stay competitive? So you went through the whole laundry list of things they should be doing, which was the core of marketing strategy, what you basically said. They should be doing that 24/7 anyway. But there are some things that they should be doing right now with a sense of urgency in order to stay competitive because of AI. Is there a handful of things you would advise them, like, here, like, if I had to pick 3 things, this is what they would be?
All right. It's triage, basically. So it's that, so what's your money pages, right? Concentrate on those.
Okay.
It's like, it's as pragmatic as anything is that, is that WSI's AI team, we have one thing or 2 things that customers tell us is that we're pragmatic and practical. So, and that's the sort of values that we want to bring. So look at your content, do some of the work, do some strategy work, do some workshops or whatever you require, to get some answers around your ideal customer persona. See that it currently matches up. We're just about moving into maybe a different economic era, right? Changes how people perceive products, services with that change. Is your customer persona reflecting that economic change or not?
That's a great insight, yeah.
Right. So you constantly, it's a living document.
Yes.
Right. And that is what I want to say is that the act of updating your content, the act of your marketing and what's your differentiator, what are your competitors doing, is a living document. And, you should be updating that, and you should be getting your suppliers to help you if you can't do it yourself, and treat it as a priority and come up with a plan. Right. And the plan must be around what are the most important things for your business, right? What do you need to do? And, and concentrate on that. It's the 80-20. Is that 80% of your business will come from 20% of your effort. So
always.
And then so, you just need to have a team. You've got to do a content audit and concentrate on those pieces of content that need updating and repurposing, and start concentrating. Is that ChatGPT has like 400 million regulars a month now, and it was the fastest growing business ever, online. And just recently, when they updated their images, it had 1 million new sign-ups in 1 hour.
My God, wow.
And that's why ChatGPT at the moment, performance is down, because they've had a real big surge of use. And and that's their biggest challenge, is actually keeping up with the growth.
Yes.
It's a bit like, having a hit product. You can't get the raw materials quick enough to get it out the door.
Right.
And so really, it's be super pragmatic, do a content audit, focus on your money pages.
The 3 R's you mentioned were?
Relevance, recency, and answer the bloody question.
Yeah. Okay, wonderful.
Yeah, but you do need to be, it's about being really unique in something meaningful as well. So to your customer or your prospect, or whatever entity you're trying to influence. But
no, that's amazing.
Yeah, it's the same old thing. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Seamus. I mean, that's pretty much a wrap. Thank you for all your insights. Honestly, we're probably you gave us a ton of information, so we're probably going to end up cutting it into multiple episodes.
Oh, yeah,
so,
I was thinking the same thing. That's great.
There's a lot there. Yeah, but thank you so much.
And there's more. Is there anybody that says they know everything? No, nothing.
And it's changing. And one of our disclaimers in this whole season 2 is on AI. It's basically what we're saying today could change tomorrow.
Yeah, you do what you're going to do. But anyway, look, it's just nice hanging out with you guys.
Yeah, thank you.
What I want them to go away with is knowing that marketing strategy matters.
100%.
Because I want them to be booking you guys to do that. I'm not saying that because I want to grow your business. I'm saying it because it's bloody good advice for them.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
No, but it came across. We appreciate that.
But guys like Cormac, I mean, he's been building his business that way from day one. Like we recognized it early that, you know, to really win in this business, you can't be just tactical. You have to start with strategy. And Cormac was doing it from day one. We saw it.
That is his business. That is his business. Well, I have a little saying. I go, strategy first, tactics aligned.
Practice aligned, yeah, exactly.
Right, and that's my advice to clients is that you know, because you've got to say, okay, right, I've got to fund this. Just like Kelly said, look, I need to set up another activity where this is going to be important for my future, right? This is like, you know how many people come to you and say, if only I could be around when Google first started.
Well, we say that about WSI. We say it about WSI. If we started 25 years ago, we'd be Neil Lappy now, but we're not.
You see what I'm saying?
There's still opportunity.
They have that. They have that opportunity now to. If they do the work and they need something that is meaningful. This doesn't help a bad business.
No.
You know, it might, but. Predominantly, it's about good businesses not missing out on the opportunity.
That's what it is, and you'd be surprised how many are just still in the dark. So we're all doing God's work now. I mean, we're definitely helping a lot of people get their heads around this because I don't know if they're afraid or they just don't see it as a big deal.
In the headlights.
Yeah, maybe that's it. Deer in the headlights. That's fair. Yeah, that's totally fair.
Fire hose.
But you know what? They're busy.
They're busy. But they're busy being busy, exactly. Not protecting themselves from what's about to hit them. And their competitors are doing this.
They're firefighting, and all they see is smoke at the moment and no flames.
Yes.
And hopefully today there's some flames here. So,
Yeah.
For sure.
We'll let you know. This is going to be a popular series, I think. We've had some good numbers with our first season, but this is going to, I think, break some records.
Let's hope so.
Thanks to you, Robert as well. He was on as well about a week or so ago. Thank you. You for your time.
Best of luck. Is that really glad to get behind you guys. It's just hard at the moment. Is that trust is so important to booking SEO.
Oh,
and
true.
Yeah, and the people we talked to just got burned. Half the time, most of the time, they just got burned, and so now they're looking for something. So
yeah.
But I'm a big fan of being realistic and pragmatic, and and giving them good but achievable targets.
Sure.
But, if they don't do it, their competitor will. Or
that's it. That's exactly it.
I know it sounds like a bit of a fear sale, but it's so true. So
and then they'll be scrambling, right? As soon as they figure, it's too late. It's too late. Yeah, it'll be so blatant in their face that you should have done this 10 years ago. Like instead of firefighting, somebody should have been looking out for this massive change. So anyway, we're
do me a favor. You do not give this research and strategy work for free.
No,
right? This is like we can get you on a cohort or whatever, but these workshops, Jim and Kelly could help you on that sort of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And they're all driven or supported by Genius tools.
Right.
So it's kind of lower effort, but still, maximal sort of impact for the clients.
The three of us are trying to swim more upstream.
Mm-hmm.
You got it.
We're instead of talking about an HVAC guy, we're trying to talk about HVAC firms. We're trying to go and focus more upstream, and that's where we'll have that opportunity. It's all about lead gen.
Yeah, well, it is, but it's about positioning. The same is for you is as podcasters that elevates you, that gives you authority.
Right.
Exactly.
And
that's
so
why
you're
we're doing
doing this for a reason.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
Thank you. Thanks,
I've got to
Seamus.
bounce.
Yeah,
I've got to bounce.
Great,
Thank you very
great
much.
meeting
We
you.
You
appreciate
take
it.
care.
Yeah, you
Don't
too.
be too brutal with me on the
No,
Oh, no.
no, not at all. See you, Seamus.
See ya.
Great meeting you.
Bye. Bye. Likewise. Yeah. Take care.
Thank you for tuning in to Why Your Business is Invisible Online. If you enjoyed today's episode, please do us a favor and subscribe and follow us on Spotify and Apple. Be sure to share it with other business owners who might find it helpful. If you want to dig deeper, contact us at ruinvisibleonline.com. That's capital letter R, capital letter U, followed by invisibleonline.com. Or message us on our LinkedIn business profile with the same title, Are You Invisible Online? The information shared in this podcast is for educational purposes only and should not be considered professional advice. The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are those of the hosts and guests and may or may not reflect the official policy or position of WSI Corporate. Always consult a qualified digital marketing expert before making significant changes to your online strategy. Until next time, keep connecting with the people who matter most to your business and join us for our next episode.